AIM-listed Tertiary Minerals, Epic code TYM, has a portfolio of copper, nickel and IOCG assets in the world-famous Zambia copper belt and a copper project in Nevada in the USA. Recently, the company announced a data sharing agreement with multinational, multi-billion-dollar copper giant First Quantum Minerals in regard to its Mukai and Mushima copper projects in Zambia. I'm joined today by Tertiary Chairman Patrick Cheetham to tell us more. Hello, Patrick. How are you today?
I'm good, Alan. Thanks. And yourself?
I'm very good, thanks. Very good indeed. Very good indeed. So you've just reported some full year results, of course, with a summary of your exploration activities. We're going to look at some of the slides from the latest company presentation available on your website at www.tertiaryminerals.com. Can you take us through the investment case first? And I'm going to bring that slide up now.
Yeah, I'd be very pleased to do that. I guess we'll put a bit more flesh on these key points as we go through this. But I guess one of the key points to get across is what our focus is, which is copper. And, you know, copper is one of those commodities which I think is sometimes overlooked as a key energy transition metal. You know, it's been around a long time, it has major industrial uses and perhaps doesn't get the coverage that, say, lithium does, for example.
Yes.
But it's one of the main beneficiaries of the energy transition. So we're pleased to be focused on copper. We are, working principally in Zambia, and where better really, it's the Zambian copper belt is a major producing area for copper and has been for decades. And also Nevada is also a significant producer of copper. So, I think we're in the right countries. And we've got an exciting portfolio of projects in Zambia. We've got 5 projects there.
Yes.
And includes what our JAX project, where we were doing a lot of drilling work last year. This last financial year. We have 2 key projects where we're working with FQM, First Quantum. I think our market capitalization is not really too demanding at 2.6 million if you look at our peer group.
I couldn't agree more. Well, going to come to that one in a second. But I mean, this agreement with First Quantum Minerals is game-changing, isn't it? Given that both the Mukai and Mushima North are more or less contiguous with First Quantum's own projects, which of course include the Trident project, and that contains 2 large mining operations, I believe, Sentinel and Enterprise. So can you just talk us through what that First Quantum collaboration means?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it is a major development for us. It's a fairly recent agreement. And so what it is, it's basically a technical cooperation and data sharing agreement. So basically we formed a technical committee with First Quantum, and that's basically designed to help us with our exploration in Zambia. We're new to Zambia. First Quantum have got decades of experience in Zambia and multiple mining operations. So we can lever off their exploration personnel and their huge background in Zambia. But also, they are actually giving us the data that they've collected from these areas as well. So it's going to turbocharge our exploration. So it's a win-win really, because it puts them in the driving seat if we want to find a partner. But equally, it doesn't bind either company. So we will be free to find joint venture partners on the best terms for us in the future if that's what we want to do.
Of course. Now, of course, the diamond drilling campaign at JAX in Zambia was a real milestone for the company. You drilled 4 diamond drill holes at the original JAX prospect and discovered significant copper mineralization. Was of course intersected in all 4 holes. Can you talk us through the drill campaign?
Sure. So this is an area that had been drilled previously a couple of decades ago. And copper mineralization was intersected, but never followed up for various reasons. So we have focused initially on what's called the original JAX copper prospect, and we were getting significant intersections, and we know that there are historical intersections down to depths of about 250 meters. And it's we hit the ground running basically. And since doing this drilling, what we've done is we've completed a detailed geochemical sampling program over this prospect and on 3 other grids where historical wide space reconnaissance sampling had defined copper anomalies, but which hadn't again been followed up. So we've done that detailed sampling follow-up now, and we have a number of anomalies. And what's interesting is that the tenor of those soil anomalies is of the same order of magnitude as you get over existing known deposits that are being mined commercially in Zambia today. So not only do we have Jacks as a drill target, we have several others on the same project area. So it's going to be an exciting year next year for drilling here.
Excellent, excellent. Well, of course, we mentioned the Mukai and Mushima North prospects. Let's look at Mukai in more detail first of all. Can you talk us through this, please, Patrick?
Yeah, so this is part of our agreement with First Quantum. Like all our licenses in Zambia, the licenses are held by a local partner called Mukai Resources. And so this particular license is surrounded on 3 sides by First Quantum. And the stratigraphy, which hosts major Enterprise and Sentinel copper projects, so Enterprise is nickel, Sentinel is copper, the same stratigraphy runs into our ground. And where it does, we know there are historic copper and nickel anomalies, and we know that First Quantum have a copper anomaly on the border with our license, which we think runs into those same historical anomalies. So we're hitting the ground running here with targets for next year. And not only are we sort of surrounded on 3 sides by First Quantum, but over to the west of us, the ground is held by a company called Arc Minerals, another UK company. And they are on the verge of signing or completing a joint venture agreement with Anglo American, where they have to spend nearly $90 million for a 70% interest. So that gives you some, and that gives you some idea of the value of the projects in this area.
That's really exciting, and of course, as you say, with that joint venture or the collaboration with First Quantum Minerals, it's a contiguous anomaly that could. It would almost be like for them just mining into another zone in your territory.
Well, I mean, what's significant here is that the Sentinel copper mine is putting ore through at the rate of over 50 million tons a year. It's a huge operation. So from First Quantum's perspective, they see opportunities to secure more ore feed in the future. So that's what's interesting, I think. And they've already given us a lot of data for this area, and so we're working through all that at the moment.
Super. Okay, so let's look at Mushima North now. That's the other project that, of course, you're looking at data or sharing data with First Quantum. Can you talk us through this one?
Yeah, so this is outside of the main copper belt, but it is in an area that's targeted for a different style of mineralization, which is called the IOCG, or iron oxide copper gold style of mineralization, which there are a number of examples around the world. Perhaps the largest is a giant Olympic Dam project in Australia. So we're just to the east of a project called Kalengwa. That was the highest grade copper producer in Zambia. It used to ship out ore at a grade of 24%. Really high grade. And our particular license area has been explored historically in the 60s by a company called Roan Selection, and more recently by BHP Billiton, where they flew their Falcon gravity system. So we've got a wealth of data historically, but also data that's coming in now from First Quantum, who have flown magnetics, electromagnetics, and done soil sampling on this area. And we know that there is at least one historical drill hole that hit copper mineralization in our ground, and there are a number of historical copper prospects. So we're currently awaiting the approval of the environmental project brief that will allow us to start exploration. But this is kind of our second highest priority project within our portfolio in Zambia.
Superb. Okay, and of course you have 2 other copper projects in the region. Of course, we have Lubula and Konkola. Let's look at Lubula first. Can you talk us through this?
Yeah. So these two prospects, I mean, if these were our only two prospects, they would be considered, to be high priority. So we've got kind of an embarrassing wealth of good projects, but the Woodward project is underlain by the Lower Rhone group, which is a main host to copper mineralization in the mines in the Zambian copper belt. We don't have a huge amount of historical data on this at the moment. We're putting that together at the moment. Our exploration manager is going to be in Zambia next week, doing exactly that. It's considered prospective because of the stratigraphy that it hosts. The Konkola West project is literally within sight of the Konkola mine headframe. So it's there are several mining operations in and around this license, and the prospective stratigraphy dips down into our ground at some depth. Now, we're not sure what depth that is. It may be too deep to be interesting, but we need to evaluate that.
Okay.
So it's certainly very well positioned anyway.
You also have a team active in Nevada, of course, at the Brunton Pass Copper Project, Patrick, and I know you were there earlier this year yourself. What's the latest you can tell us from Brunton Pass?
So we've been exploring at Brunton Pass for about a year or so now, and we've been very systematic. Started off with mapping and sampling, got high-grade copper values, so then did soil sampling, and most recently a program of trenching across the soil anomalies and the mineralization that we've discovered. So that trenching has identified targets for both copper, but also for precious metals. We think we've identified what may be the upper levels of an epithermal system. So we are, in our budget, we plan to drill this project as soon as possible, and as soon as we can get a drill rig.
Excellent. Okay. Well, of course, the last year has, of course, been a pretty torrid time for small cap mining companies, and Tertiary is no exception. The first quantum collaboration, of course, looks as though it could be transformational for the company, Patrick. What do you think will trigger what I think is considered to be a long overdue re-rating for Tertiary?
Yeah, so I think you're right. It has been a particularly torrid time on the markets. We've been affected by that alongside, most other junior companies. But I think what's important to note here, I think, is that many I think would agree that we're probably undervalued where we are today. And there are a lot of triggers coming up in terms of our exploration. And as we manage to get more information out there on the work that's been done historically on these by First Quantum, and to get more information out about our plans for 2023, then I think that we will see a re-rating, and of course results as well will have that effect too. But I think looking where we are today. If you compare us to our peer group and with similar exploration projects, then I think investors probably should say to themselves, do we wait, or is now the time to get involved? And the board itself was buying shares last year at these levels, at these market levels. So I think that's a sign of faith in the company. I think we can look forward to a pretty exciting 2023.
Indeed, Patrick. Well, Tertiary certainly looks set for a very exciting and transformational year next year, and you've got a superb portfolio of projects to do that. So we look forward to hearing more about the collaboration with First Quantum. But in the meantime, it just remains for me to say a very Merry Christmas to you and the Tertiary team. And Patrick, many thanks for joining us today.
Well, thanks, Alan. Merry Christmas to you and to your audience too.
Thank you.